I'm okay too. Every time.
Start by thanking all of you for coming here today. My name is Mohammed Nuru, and I work at the Public Works Department. And I want to welcome you to the first partnering summit, at least within the city family and the contract. When I was preparing my remarks, I just felt this is a real achievement for all of us to come together to talk about partnering and just learn more about what partnering is. And I can speak about partnering from my experience, which is relatively very new. Prior to becoming to Public Works as a director, I really didn't know much about partnering. And but having been involved for just a few years and being involved in some projects, I have seen how partnering can really save us money, how it brings people together, and how we promote the family of San Francisco that I think we all want to see, where we can work together and do good work for the public. Partnering can help all projects, whether they are vertical or horizontal, and through our collaboration. And today you will see many examples and guidelines on how to use partnering. And just as an example, just last week we have a project here in the city, and the first partnering session, the project is scheduled to go for about 7 months, and just in the first meeting, everybody working together, it looks like we might be able to shorten that time to about 4 months because of just everybody meeting and trying to figure it out. And so we're still going through working out the details, but that's a good sign when you come to the table, all of us trying to figure things out, as opposed to some of the experiences that we've had. Putting our heads together, city government, contractors, is beneficial to everyone. And I think that's the powerful thing about partnering. Some of our city departments have been partnering prior to the initiative, but it took Mayor Lee's leadership to bring us all together and really ask that we start putting this as a practice with all departments. And I am pleased to say that all departments are actually working together on instituting partnering as part of their contracts. In 2012, the way this came about, the mayor created a committee of city departments and contractors charged at looking into the viability of instituting partnering on city-sponsored construction projects. From that committee, we made a recommendation to the mayor, and the mayor issued an executive order asking all departments to include partnering in all our contracts, and we did. And so that's a good thing. That's why all of us are here today to talk a little bit more and to try to figure out how that works. Last year, the team that's working together spent quite a bit of time figuring out what the specifications will look like in our city contracts, and working very closely with our city attorneys who work on all the various contracts. But as we are finding out, having language in a contract is just the beginning of how we figure out how partnering works. And so we now have to make it work. And that's what today is about. Our mayor, as many of you know him, has always been a strong advocate for innovative practices. He's not afraid to challenge the way we do business in order to make it better for everyone. And frankly speaking, it's because of his advice and guidance and his leadership that we're all here today. And so, you know, how about a big hand for him? Another strong advocate who has led the partnering effort is our city administrator, Naomi Kelly. And I'm going to ask Naomi to come up and say a few words and introduce some of the key partners, department heads, and contractors who have helped get us to today. So please welcome Naomi Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. What a wonderful turnout today. And it's great to be up here on the stage at Yoshi's. I told the mayor that I might start singing my jazz songs to you, but I'm not going to do that. I'll spare you all. At least we'll lighten up the morning. I reflect back to about 3 years ago when the mayor was the interim mayor and I was a deputy city administrator, and I started working on his first thing that he wanted me to work on was implementing local hire as the legislation had been adopted by the board. And I already had a good relationship with Chris Iglesias, who many of you know, who was instrumental with getting the AGC meeting with all the different departments and many of the contractors here in the city. And as we were going through local hire, there were two issues that he kept raising, you know, up to me, and he's like, Naomi, you've got to get involved on these issues. And one, he didn't need to tell me that. I've heard it from many of you, many of the contractors who I've known over my years of being the purchaser, that, you know, we have an issue with prompt payment, and can we work on it? I know there was a meeting with a construction workforce group, and things got better, but there were still issues between when the primes got paid and when the subs got paid, and so can we work on that some more? And, you know, and that was one topic. And the other topic was, we need to stop suing each other. And I know there's two departments out there that are doing partnering, but in different ways, and that's the PUC and the airport, and it's not consistent amongst all the different departments. And there was one contract in particular that was starting to blow up at that time, and I don't know if there was much I could do about it then, but as I started calling some of my fellow departments, and Monique Moyer was one of them who I would talk to on a regular basis, and she is always one calling her fellow departments heads and asking, what are your best practices? We realized instantly that even how different project managers within each of the big 6 construction public works departments and different engineers, they escalated up the different problems differently. And whether it was, you know, a project that was going a little bit over budget or there was a slippage in time, and it wasn't escalating all the way up to, you know, their direct supervisor or either up to the department head. And usually by the time it got to the department head, they were just furious because it was a lot over budget and a lot behind schedule. So we needed to come up with a way that it would automatically escalate where they wouldn't have the fear to tell your direct supervisor that this project is a little bit over. And why is it? It's usually something very technical, you know, that is beyond my skill set, like the steel wasn't fireproof correctly or the rebar wasn't put in right, and there's nothing that I would know how to fix that if they're escalating it to me as a deputy city administrator or the city administrator. So there had to be mechanisms in place on how this could be fixed, and partnering was the way that we looked at that, but we wanted to have it more consistent amongst the departments. And so I had made recommendations to the mayor to kind of, let's reactivate the AGC, and the best person to lead this effort is Mohammed Nuru. And boy, did he take the bull by the horns, and look at what we have here today. So I want to just really thank Mohammed for all of his great work. And so Mohammed has given me my speech, which I've kind of, and he says I must thank these following people. Sometimes I think I work for him. So I want to thank Ed Riskin at MTA. I want to thank Monique Moyer from the port. Ivar Santero, who's representing John Martin at the airport. I want to thank Bill Ginsberg from Rec and Park. I also want to thank Michael Carlin, who's representing this guy I barely know, Harlan Kelly from the PUC. I also want to thank many of the leaders in the construction industry that are here today. I can't mention everyone, but I'd like to especially recognize the platinum sponsors for today's event, and that's PayCal, represented by Scott Anderson. Webcor, represented by Len Ventron. And Turner, represented by Cavendish Singh. I also want to thank Mike Gelati, who was sitting right there with Chris Iglesias when they were coming to me and talking about the different things we need to work on, for his partnering advocacy and his great help at this summit. Thank you, Mike.